on the programming that you're offering. But at this time, to stay on track, and we have a very special guest that we'd like to introduce, I want to turn the program over to Alexandra, who will do a brief introduction, and then we'll have an opportunity again for some discussion later in the program. So Alexandra, thanks for being with us today. We're really pleased to have you with us, and I'm so honored that you're going to have the opportunity to introduce our new Secretary of Labor.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for spending the last 2 days with CCD and for logging on at almost the 5 p.m. hour. It's really amazing that we've had over 1,000 people registered. That's really exciting. My name is Alexandra Oliver-Davila, and I am the Executive Director of Sociedad Latina, which is a creative youth and community development organization that is located in the Mission Hill Roxbury neighborhood of Boston. We work predominantly with Latina youth from middle school through post-secondary, and our programming focuses on civic engagement, arts and culture, STEM, and college and career readiness. I feel very honored to be introducing U.S. Secretary of Labor Martin Walsh, affectionately known as Marty or Madi to us Bostonians. Born and raised in the neighborhood of Dorchester by Irish immigrant parents, Secretary Walsh worked tirelessly as a state representative and as the 54th mayor of Boston to create an inclusive city where all are welcome and where every resident has access and ample opportunities to pursue their dreams and be successful. As a child, Secretary Walsh survived a serious bout of lymphoma, and this illness forced him to miss much of his 2nd and 3rd grade and repeat 5th grade. He attended and graduated from the Newman High School. Initially dropping out of college, the secretary later took night classes as an adult and received a Bachelor of Arts degree from Boston College. Secretary Walsh also made his mark as a labor leader. After following his father into Laborers Local 223 in Boston, he rose to head the Building and Construction Trades Council. As head of the Trades Council, he created a program called Building Pathways that became a model for increasing diversity in the workplace and providing greater career opportunities for women and people of color. My reason for sharing certain pieces of the Secretary's personal life and career trajectory is to highlight not only that he has devoted his career to championing opportunities for young people, people of color, immigrants, women, and working people, but that his lived experience, which is so relatable to so many of us, is also the reason for the many successful policies, programs, and initiatives he has created. More importantly, I believe it is a great example of the importance of policymaking through the lens of a lived experience. As we know, policy is often made with great intentions, but without the voice of those for whom it was intended. I had the privilege of working closely with the Secretary when he was the mayor of Boston, and I was a school committee member and chair. In all of our work together, it was always clear to me how much he cared for and valued young people. From his launching of the Invest BPS program to get more employers engaged and supporting our Boston Public Schools, to creating a youth participatory budgeting process with $1 million investment, to expanding the youth summer jobs budget and placing it under the outcomes-focused Office of Workforce Development, to opening a connection center in Roxbury to reach opportunity youth, and establishing free community college for low-income Boston Public School students. From these policies and so many more that I don't have time to mention, the Secretary has shown his commitment to youth and to furthering the youth ecosystem. I have witnessed firsthand his interactions with young people and how genuine he is in demonstrating caring and interest about their future, including with my own daughter. Young people relate to the Secretary because of that genuineness, but also because they can see themselves in him. His personal story lets them know they are not alone in the struggles they may face, and that it is possible to be successful, even if your path is not a traditional one. I know I relate with the Secretary on that as well, having dropped out of college to return later to finish while holding down a full-time job. I know that the Secretary understands in a very real and very personal way the importance of career readiness and pathways work with young people, as his life story demonstrates. We're very fortunate to have Martin Walsh as our U.S. Secretary of Labor, and I feel very fortunate to call him a friend. I will let the Secretary share all of the amazing work that he is leading across the country to provide greater opportunities for all of our country's young people. So without further ado, I present to you our U.S. Secretary of Labor, Martin Walsh.
And as timing would have it, we're still waiting. We did get confirmation that he'll be here, but you know how the minutes go. Alex, just maybe a quick, we want to fill in a little bit, but I know you've got stories. I think we would consider that Secretary Walsh is actually on loan, right, to the
Yes.
Washington, but we're expecting him to come back, right? And he's going to be doing great things for Boston and Massachusetts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Absolutely. The secretary and I actually met. He always tells the story that he says that I hated him. And I always say that's like the start of every great friendship, right? Almost everyone that I'm very close with, we always have had, like differing opinions, which is great. I think that our relationship really grew from like the perspective when I met him and hearing his perspective. And I think, that is one thing that I really respect about the secretary is he was always listening to multiple points of view and never just really had like a set point of view. And so I think, I'm an example. I'm sure there's many more that the secretary has, but his openness, I think, yes, and absolutely he is on loan. So we want him back. To come back because there's many more things for him to do, and like I said earlier, there's so many more policies that he worked on that are about college and career pathways. He and I worked together. After he left, we were able to pass MassCore in Boston, but that was something that was I was working with him on before he transition to secretary. And then his whole, interest in college and career readiness and expanding our high schools to make sure that they, would be ready for that and kind of changing the grade configuration so we could have like a K to 6, 7 to 12 so that we'd start earlier on the college and career pathways. I think he's just done so much work.
It's amazing work. And I think what happened was he was, as a mayor, you don't know how engaged they're going to be with the connection between education and workforce. And he seemed to get that from the very beginning. And so you mentioned MassCore, which was what's the academic level and rigor that they'll be taking, but also setting up the foundation for looking at pathways as a citywide issue, I think was really an important investment he made as well.
Yeah. And I think, the other pieces, I love the way that, he's always worked in terms of like bringing people together. He's still doing that now, bringing people from all different walks of life and different experiences to work on policy. And, something else near and dear to my heart is around language access, the immigrant experience, and making Boston a safe place, during a very challenging time under Trump. And then just having all of that lens that he brings to the table and all of the policies, programs, initiatives that he has worked on and continues to work on.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So you have any stories we can share?
Stories besides the one that he said I hated him.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, he always tells that story. Yeah, I mean, I met him, and I think in his campaigning, he had said he was going to increase some workforce pieces, and so I held him to the fire on that. Which then he came through on. So again, our relationship did blossom from that. We didn't always see eye to eye on everything, that's for sure. And he was very kind. My daughter, all the time, I have a picture of her in his office, putting up her feet in his, picking up the phone and just calling people and say, do this and that, this and that. So it's just always been very genuine, very kind in all of our events at my organization. He knows everybody, but particularly young people, like they gravitate towards him, and he remembers their name, remembers who they are, where they're going to school, etc. So. Okay,
I think we have him on. Sonia, can you help us know, is he an attendee? I don't have him on the panelist level. So if you could just use the chat room to let us know where our secretary is, we can bring you all up to the panelist level. Let's see. So Sonia, we'll need just a quick chat in there.
There he is.
I'm here.
Oh, fantastic.
I
Thank
heard
you so
all those
much.
nice things that Alex said about me. I was listening to them all. I heard you all, everything you said, Alex.
You didn't hear everything I said?
I heard everything you said, all the
You
nice
heard-
things. I heard them all.
I didn't say anything bad, so I kept all the good stories, out of this, so don't worry.
That's awesome.
Nice to see you, Secretary. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So we will hand it right off to you. So please feel free to.
Just
Chat.
go. All right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you very much, Alex, for having me. I love, hearing the stories and, Alex and myself did a lot of great work in the city of Boston. Alex gave me a lot of credit, but honestly, that story that I like telling about her not liking me, it was a meeting with Latino leaders and it was just, I just felt a sense of urgency to do things. And I want to thank you, Alex, publicly, and I have many times, and I will continue to, for all the great things you did and you worked with me on, and we did in the city. So thank you for that. I also appreciate all the work that you continue to do for young people of Boston, and it's a pleasure to be with everyone today. And I really do mean it, and I appreciate it. I want to thank everyone for the work that you do to promote career readiness. I want to give a shout out to the board chair, Leo Reddy, for his vision and effort in establishing the coalition's Career Development Center. His dedication to making careers readiness the #1 education priority in America is becoming realized, quite honestly, and we're seeing it all across the country. And I'll talk a little more about what I see in my job, but the CCD has, and many other great industry leaders committed to career readiness, like Paul Perkins, president of Amatron. Thank you, Paul. Gary, thank you, the CEO of American Welding Society. Sam, vice president of Snap-on, thank you for all your great work. And I want to give finally a big thank you to Annette Parker, the president of the South Central College, and Carolyn Lee, executive director of the Manufacturing Institute, who are leaders in championing career paths with the CCD's 2-year college system. Certainly partnering with employers and community colleges is a priority of the Department of Labor, and it's great to see all of your leadership in the space. Since I have become Secretary of Labor a year ago, March, a big part of my approach has been traveling. I go to different parts of the country. I've been to 37 different states, and I've gone about over 70 cities. And I do it to better understand what communities need, and it's really, really important. I go to workplaces and training programs of all kinds, and almost always a community college where employers, unions, nonprofits, educators are building programs together, because I feel that on the ground is really about how do we project and move forward in the country. There are some incredible programs in every part of our country, and obviously Alex knows this. I come from Boston. A lot of us come from Boston, and we live in a bubble to some degree. But when we get out there, we really see some amazing things in this country and what's happening all across this country. But there's still longstanding needs for more investment, and that need has only gotten greater. We've only seen it go greater. As you know, workforce has been through a historic disruption during the pandemic. We were in Boston and all across the country. People's lives certainly changed, and people who are already the most vulnerable have been hit the hardest. And I was at a conference a little earlier today, and I was asked a question about unemployment for Black, Latino, and Black, Latino community and women, and how the pandemic hit those communities harder. But if you go back before the pandemic, those are things that we as a country had to continue working on, and we're looking at it. We see people who have been reevaluating their careers, and they're being empowered right now by a strong recovery. American workers right now are looking for better opportunities, and frankly, many young people feel uncertain about their future. This is a critical moment in our history, and I think we have a unique opportunity because we're committed to partnering with you on solutions that meet the needs of young people, workers, and employers in all of our communities. President Biden and Vice President Harris has made good middle-class jobs with equity and access for all, the heart of their economic agenda, our economic agenda. President Biden signed several months ago the bipartisan infrastructure law. Since then, we've hit the ground running to deliver results and build a better America. This law, we're already starting to see it creating good paying jobs, union jobs. It's helping us fight climate change, advancing environmental justice, boosting domestic manufacturing, and strengthening critical links in our supply chain that are lowering costs for workers. So we announced about $110 billion to rebuild bridges and roads, modernize ports, and quite honestly, in parts of our country, we need to replace lead pipelines, that lead pipes that are in there delivering drinking water. We saw during the pandemic, in Boston too, that many of our communities don't have good, strong, high-speed internet. And this will expand high-speed internet all across our country into rural America and urban America, and give people opportunities. So far, we've funded about 4,300 specific projects, touching about 3,200 communities all across the 50 states and DC and Puerto Rico. We've seen 53 states and territories appoint infrastructure coordinators due to our request. So the company, the areas are going to have their own people on the ground so we can make connections to them. These investments are going to really have an opportunity to create great opportunity in our country for people. We have a good jobs initiative. It's an effort led by the Department of Labor to make sure that we deliver on the goals and everything we do, from infrastructure to investment to employer engagement. I'll give you one quick example. We worked with Secretary Buttigieg, who's the Secretary of Transportation, to make sure that the first round of infrastructure grants required good local jobs, high labor standards, access to apprenticeships for underrepresented workers. And quite honestly, a lot of that I learned in Boston, that as this money flows down, we need to make sure that we're lifting everyone up. In a good job, when we talk about good job, workers are paid a fair wage and benefits, and they have a voice at the workplace. And entry-level positions provide pathways into growing skills and career advancement. And so to be able to, and I heard you guys talk a little bit before I got on, we're investing in high-quality training. We're putting equity at the center of our workplace. Work rooms. And I've seen it when I was the mayor of Boston. Alex, myself, and other people talked about it. We saw it in our Boston public schools. We saw it in our communities. We need to make sure that we're also keeping our focus on increasing access for marginalized workers. We have to continue to do that, and we have to make sure that underrepresented workers, people of color, and women have opportunities. We commit to more than half of the renewed investment in apprenticeship to expand apprenticeship opportunities for historically underserved communities. It's like $113 million roughly investment in apprenticeship building America grants. That's from the Department of Labor, and we're focused on youth and learning of all ages. So we're going to continue to do that to prepare young people for apprenticeships. And I think that, we've talked about this a lot in this country now for the last year or so, that we've been pushing kids to college. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't still do that, but a lot of kids haven't been able to go to college, haven't been able to access college, don't have the money to go to college. There might be sons and daughters of immigrants that don't understand the process, like I was, and other challenges. So we need to make sure we're preparing our young people. So the Young People Apprenticeship last month, the Department of Labor awarded $90.4 million in youth build grants to prepare young adults not enrolled in school, participating in the labor market for jobs in construction and other in-demand industries through apprenticeships and other career pathways. And a lot of these jobs are jobs that support clean energy technology. So we want to continue to do that. A couple examples: Workforce Pathways for Youth Grants was awarded $20 million in 2021. We're also awarding an estimated $10 million to support a national out-of-school time organization that serves youth. So we want to continue to do that. We're working across the government. I'm working with Secretary Cardona and Secretary Raimondo. Secretary Cardona, those of you that don't know, is from Connecticut. He's the Secretary of Education. Secretary Raimondo is the Secretary of Commerce, and she's the former governor of Rhode Island. So we're working very, very closely. We want to make sure that K-12 schools, colleges, and workforce programs work very closely together, so we don't lose kids or lose people through those gaps that we've seen before. We want to also make it easier for young people to access pathways to education and training that they want. That's where community colleges come into place, and many nonprofit organizations where we can work with them. We rely on Workforce Coalition members like you and on all the critical partners on this work. You invest resources in the ways that make it easier for people to get in-demand and skills credentials. We need to help you with that. You connect workers with quality jobs. You're good at that. And you help local employers meet the workforce needs. So we want to understand what you need to reach more people, especially those who didn't always get a fair shot in the past. The work of our administration's commitment to building a more equitable economy with pathways into middle class for all workers is vital. Apprenticeship is an important strategy that we focus on. It's a model that works for working people. It works for young staff, young people starting out, or older workers changing careers. It works for veterans looking to adapt to the skills that they learned in service, and we're doing a lot of talk around there. It works for women, people of color, and other people who face barriers to opportunity. And what are those barriers? It could be education, it could be childcare, it could be adult care, it could be housing, it could be a lot of things, it could be poverty, quite honestly. You don't go into debt. You get paid to learn a skill when you're in an apprenticeship. You get credentials and you get a good job. And our goal is to add a million of diverse new apprentices to our workforce system over the next 10 years. And that really is going to be key for us moving forward. And the last thing I just want to say is that all the work that I'm talking about here and doing in the federal government, it's work that we can't do unless we do it in a partnership. And I often say, when we're talking to businesses about creating an apprentice program, there's no point of Department of Labor making the apprentice program for a business, but have a business at the table helping us what they need, what are the programs and the skills that people need to work in the companies. And the same when it comes to nonprofits. I know there's a lot of nonprofits on this call. Listen, I've worked with nonprofits as an elected official since 1997. I was on boards of nonprofits before that when I was a younger person in my neighborhood in Dorchester. And I absolutely love the work and commitment of the nonprofit community, because you will find no people more dedicated to what you do on a daily basis. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here today. When Alex asked me, and I was thrilled because it's great to see Alex and so many other friends I know that are on this chat today. So just thank you for the opportunity. With that, Alex, I don't know if I turn it back to you.
I don't know, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for being with us. I know that you're really busy, and thank you for not just the work you do now, but all of your years of work. And it's great to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Secretary Walsh, on behalf of the CCD, our board, and all of our conveners over the last 2 days, thank you for your presentation today, your continued advocacy and support for the work that we do, and your support and leadership for our nation. We're just grateful that you're able to take a little time with us today. I think you'll be impressed over the next few years as we continue this work and drive new initiatives for our country that align very closely with what you have just described are the needs for the individuals throughout this nation. So thank you so much for being with us.
No, you're welcome. We have to work together, continue to work together, because there's a lot of opportunity. I think that the pandemic definitely has brought a lot of stress and anxiety to a lot of people, but let's look at it this way. It's an opportunity for us to hit a restart button and really do things right. And you have, honest to God, when I say this, a president and a vice president that wants to create pathways into the middle class, and you have somebody, myself and Secretary Cardona and all of us, actually, the cabinet, wants to make a difference in people's lives. Like, there's no point of taking a job like this and getting the title and not making an impact. And it really is about the impact. It's not about the title to me, it's about the impact. So I want to do everything I can to make sure that when I leave here, we leave this country in a stronger place.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. Alex, thank you so much. Grateful for your time as well and your support and leadership for the CCD. Thank you.